In the middle of a group photo at my wife's birthday party, my wife sneered, "Move out of the picture. Your face is ruining the aesthetic." I stepped out of frame and kept walking, got in my car, and drove away without looking back. Later that night, one of her friends texted me, "She's still crying." In the middle of a group photo at my wife's birthday party, she sneered, "Move out of the picture. Your face is ruining the aesthetic." I stepped out of frame and kept walking, got in my car and drove away without looking back. Later that night, one of her friends texted me, "She's still crying." But what my wife didn't know was that I'd been planning my exit for months. And what happened next completely destroyed the perfect life she thought she'd built. My name is Carter Reynolds. I'm 41 years old, and up until 8 months ago, I thought I had a decent marriage. Not perfect, but decent. I run a successful commercial real estate firm in Denver, the kind of business that requires long hours and constant attention to detail. My wife, Vanessa, is 38, works as a creative director for a boutique marketing agency, and has always been obsessed with appearances. How things looked, how we looked, how our life looked to everyone watching. We'd been married for 13 years, no kids by choice. Vanessa said children would interfere with her career trajectory. And honestly, I was relieved. I'd seen enough of my friends trapped in miserable marriages staying together for the kids. At least Vanessa and I had the freedom to leave if things went south. I just never imagined how south they'd actually go. The birthday party was at NOLA, this trendy rooftop restaurant downtown where the cocktails cost $18 and the portions are designed for Instagram rather than actual human consumption. Vanessa had been planning it for weeks, obsessing over every detail. The guest list, the decorations, the photographer she'd hired to capture candid moments that would look spontaneous on social media. I'd offered to help with the planning, but Vanessa waved me off every time. "Just show up and don't embarrass me," was her exact phrase. That should have been my first warning that this night wasn't going to end well. The party started at 7. I arrived at 6:45 wearing the navy suit Vanessa had picked out for me the week before. She'd made me try on 4 different options, critiquing each one like she was judging a fashion show rather than helping her husband dress for her birthday celebration. When I walked in, Vanessa barely acknowledged me. She was too busy directing her photographer, a 20-something kid named Trevor, who kept calling her V like they were old friends. She'd positioned herself near the railing where the city lights created the perfect backdrop, her burgundy dress catching the golden hour sun that was just starting to set. "Carter, you're here," she said when she finally noticed me, her tone flat. "Try to mingle. Don't just stand there looking awkward." I grabbed a drink from the bar and made conversation with people I barely knew. Vanessa's work friends, most of whom treated me like furniture. Expensive furniture that matched the decor but served no real purpose. Her best friend, Lauren, gave me a sympathetic smile when she saw me standing alone near the appetizer table. "How are you holding up?" Lauren asked quietly. "Fine," I lied. "Just trying to stay out of the way." Lauren's expression suggested she knew more than she was saying. But before she could respond, Vanessa's voice cut through the ambient music and conversation. "Everyone, group photo time," Vanessa announced, waving people toward her designated photo spot. "Trevor's going to capture this before the light changes." I moved toward the group naturally, positioning myself on the edge where I usually stood during these events. Vanessa had a specific aesthetic she maintained on social media. Clean, polished, aspirational. I'd learned over the years that my role in her visual narrative was minimal, present, but not prominent. But apparently that night, even minimal presence was too much. "Carter, what are you doing?" Vanessa asked, her voice sharp with irritation. I looked at her confused. "Getting in the photo?" "Move out of the picture," she said, not even trying to lower her voice. "Your face is ruining the aesthetic." The words hit me like a physical blow. Around us, conversations died. People who'd been laughing seconds before went silent. Even Trevor lowered his camera, clearly uncomfortable with what he was witnessing. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds, processing what she just said. Then something inside me clicked. Not anger, not hurt, just clarity. Pure crystalline clarity about exactly what my marriage had become. I stepped out of frame and I kept walking past the group of people who were now whispering and exchanging uncomfortable glances. Past the bar where I'd left my drink, past Lauren, who reached out toward me but didn't say anything. Straight to the elevator. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. Text after text, call after call. I ignored all of it. Started the engine, pulled out of the parking garage, and drove. Not home. I couldn't go back to the house I'd shared with Vanessa for 13 years. Not tonight. Instead, I drove to my office, let myself in with my keycard, and sat in the dark, staring at the Denver skyline through my floor-to-ceiling windows. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. "She's still crying. Says she didn't mean it the way it sounded. You should call her." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I blocked Vanessa's number and went back to watching the city lights. What Lauren and Vanessa and everyone at that party didn't know was that I'd been planning my exit for 8 months. Ever since I discovered that my wife's obsession with aesthetic perfection extended far beyond Instagram filters and birthday party planning. Before we continue with what I discovered about Vanessa, I want to ask you to do something. If this story is resonating with you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own relationship, hit that subscribe button below. Drop a comment telling me about a time when you realized you deserved better. And smash that like button because this story is about to get a lot more interesting. Trust me, you want to stick around for what comes next. 8 months before the birthday party, I'd come home early from a business trip. My meeting in Phoenix had been canceled last minute. So, instead of staying overnight, I caught an earlier flight and was back in Denver by 8 p.m. on a Thursday. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway, which was strange because Vanessa's car was there. I let myself in quietly, thinking maybe she'd gone to bed early with a headache, something she did occasionally when work stress got intense. But Vanessa wasn't in bed. She was in my home office sitting at my desk going through my computer files. "What are you doing?" I asked from the doorway. She jumped. Literally jumped, her hand flying to her chest. "God, Carter, you scared me. You're on my computer. I needed to check something for work. My laptop's dead, and I couldn't find my charger." She was already closing windows, moving too fast, her explanation too rehearsed. I walked further into the room. "What were you looking for?" "Just a file for a client presentation." She stood up, smoothing her dress. "When did you get home?" "About 2 minutes ago." I sat down at my desk and opened my recent files. She'd been looking at my banking records, specifically my personal banking records that I kept separate from our joint account. "Vanessa, why were you looking at my bank statements?" Her expression shifted from nervous to defensive. "Because you've been hiding money from me." I stared at her. "I have a personal account. I've always had a personal account. You have one too. That's not hiding money. That's maintaining financial independence like we agreed when we got married. You have almost $400,000 in that account, Carter. $400,000. And you never told me?" The pieces started falling into place. "Is that what this is about? You want access to my personal savings? We're married. What's yours is mine. We have a prenup, Vanessa. Very clear terms about separate property." She crossed her arms. "That prenup is 13 years old. Things change." "What things?" "I'm thinking about starting my own agency. I need capital." And there it was. Not concerned about our marriage or our financial partnership. Just another transaction in Vanessa's constant quest for status and success. "How much do you need?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't give her a dime. "All of it? I need all of it to launch properly, compete with the major agencies." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You want me to hand you $400,000 that I've been saving for 20 years so you can start a company? I'm your wife and I'm not your bank." Vanessa's face hardened. "Fine. Then I'll get it another way." She left the room and I sat there processing what had just happened. My wife had been snooping through my private financial information, planning to demand money that wasn't hers, and seemed genuinely angry that I wouldn't simply hand it over. That's when I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Over the next few weeks, I noticed things I'd been too busy or too trusting to see before. Vanessa's phone was always face down. She'd started password protecting everything, even her laptop that she used to leave open on the kitchen counter. She had late meetings 3 or 4 nights a week, coming home after 10 p.m. smelling like expensive wine and making excuses about difficult clients. But the real confirmation came from my business partner, Nathan, who'd known Vanessa almost as long as I had. "Carter, I need to tell you something," Nathan said one afternoon in my office. He looked uncomfortable, kept shifting his weight from foot to foot. "And I hate being the bearer of bad news, but you need to know." "What is it?" "I saw Vanessa last Tuesday at T Merchants. She was having dinner with someone." Merchants was an upscale restaurant in Lodo. The kind of place you took someone you wanted to impress or someone you were sleeping with. "Who was she with?" Nathan pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. Vanessa was sitting in a corner booth with a man I didn't recognize. Mid-40s, expensive suit, the kind of corporate confidence that money and success create. They weren't touching, but their body language was intimate, leaning toward each other. Vanessa's hand on the table, close enough to his that it could have been casual or intentional. "Who is he?" "Blake Morrison, CEO of Morrison Digital. They're one of the biggest marketing firms in Denver." Everything clicked into place. The late meetings, the new obsession with her appearance, the sudden interest in my money. Vanessa wasn't just thinking about starting her own agency. She was planning to leave me for someone with more money, more status, more aesthetic appeal. I thanked Nathan and spent the next month gathering evidence. Not for revenge, but for protection. I knew Vanessa, knew she'd try to paint me as the villain, spin some narrative about a neglectful husband who didn't support her dreams. I needed proof of what she really was. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Rachel Torres, who specialized in domestic cases and came highly recommended by one of my attorney friends. Rachel was thorough. Within 2 weeks, She had photographs of Vanessa meeting Blake Morrison at hotels, restaurants, his downtown loft. They weren't even trying to hide it, just assumed I was too stupid or too busy to notice. The investigator's report confirmed what I already suspected. Vanessa had been seeing Blake for almost 6 months. They'd met at an industry conference and apparently decided they were soulmates, or whatever term people use to justify destroying their marriages. Blake was in the process of divorcing his second wife. And according to Rachel's sources, he'd promised Vanessa a position at his firm once she was free from me. But here's the thing about people like Blake Morrison. They don't get to the top by being nice or keeping promises. They get there by using people and discarding them when they're no longer useful. I kept all of this to myself. Went through the motions of normal married life while preparing for the inevitable. I moved money to accounts Vanessa didn't know about. Updated my will. Made copies of all our financial documents and marital records. Even started looking at apartments, places I could go when everything finally fell apart. The birthday party was supposed to be my exit opportunity. I'd planned to stay through dinner, make an appearance for the sake of her friends and family, then tell her privately the next day that I wanted a divorce. Clean, simple, dignified. But when she told me to move out of the photo, when she humiliated me in front of 50 people just to maintain her perfect aesthetic, something changed. I realized I didn't know her dignity. Didn't know her a private conversation or a graceful exit. She'd made our marriage a public performance. I'd end it the same way. The next morning, I woke up on the couch in my office. My neck was stiff, my suit was wrinkled, and my phone had 73 missed calls. Most from Vanessa, some from her friends, a few from her mother, who I'd always suspected didn't actually like me very much. I ignored all of them and called my attorney instead. David, it's Carter Reynolds. I need to file for divorce today. David had been expecting this call. We discussed it 3 months ago when I first started preparing. I'll have the papers ready by noon. You want me to serve her, or are you doing it yourself? Have them delivered to her office 2 p.m. Make sure her assistant is there to witness it. If Vanessa wanted public drama, I'd give her public drama. I spent the morning at the gym, then got a haircut, bought 3 new suits, and moved into the furnished apartment I'd leased 2 weeks prior under an LLC my attorney had set up. By the time the divorce papers were delivered to Vanessa's office, I was settled in my new place with a bourbon and 0 regrets. My phone exploded around 2:30, but I'd already blocked Vanessa's number. The calls came through from numbers I didn't recognize, which I also ignored. Finally, around 6 p.m., Lauren called. Carter, what the hell is going on? I filed for divorce. Pretty straightforward. Because of what happened at the party, she didn't mean it like that. She was just stressed about everything being perfect. Lauren, I'm going to tell you something because you've always been decent to me. Vanessa has been having an affair with Blake Morrison for 6 months. She was planning to leave me anyway. The photo thing just accelerated my timeline. Silence. Then how do you know about Blake? You knew? I suspected she'd been different lately. Secretive. But Carter, I didn't have proof. And I didn't want to interfere in your marriage over a suspicion. I appreciate that. But I have proof now. Photos, financial records, everything I need. What are you going to do? Divorce her, protect my assets, and move on with my life? Lauren sighed. She's going to fight this. You know that. Let her fight. She'll lose. After I hung up with Lauren, I poured another bourbon and pulled up the investigator's report on my laptop. 200 pages of documentation, photos of Vanessa and Blake at restaurants, hotels, his loft, text message records that Rachel had obtained through methods I didn't ask about. Financial transactions showing Blake had been paying for Vanessa's hair appointments, her new wardrobe, even the photographer for her birthday party. That last detail made me laugh. I'd paid for the venue, the food, the alcohol, but Blake had paid for Trevor to capture Vanessa's perfect aesthetic moment, the moment where she humiliated me in front of 50 people so she'd look better in his eyes. The divorce moved fast once I filed. Vanessa tried to fight the prenup, claimed it was signed under duress 13 years ago, that I'd pressured her into keeping our finances separate because I never trusted her. My attorney demolished that argument in about 15 minutes during our first mediation session. Mrs. Reynolds, David said, his voice calm but firm. You were represented by your own attorney when you signed this prenup. You negotiated several favorable terms. There was no duress. Vanessa's lawyer, a shark named Patricia Vance, who specialized in high-asset divorces, tried a different angle. My client deserves compensation for 13 years of emotional labor, supporting Mr. Reynolds' career while sacrificing her own advancement. I almost laughed at that. Vanessa had always been more focused on her career than mine, but David was ready for this too. Mrs. Reynolds has been having an extramarital affair with Blake Morrison, CEO of Morrison Digital, for approximately 6 months. David slid a folder across the table. These are photographs and financial records documenting their relationship. Mr. Reynolds has been more than patient regarding his wife's infidelity. Vanessa's face went white. Patricia opened the folder, scanned the first few pages, then closed it quickly. "We need a recess," Patricia said. During the break, I waited in David's conference room while he handled calls with other clients. 30 minutes later, he came back with news. They want to settle. Vanessa keeps the house in her car. You keep everything else. No alimony. Clean break. What about the affair? Does Blake know she's still trying to get my money? David smiled. Actually, I have some information about Mr. Morrison you might find interesting. He's not divorcing his second wife. They reconciled 2 months ago. I stared at him. What? Blake Morrison and his wife renewed their vows in Napa last month. Very private ceremony. I have a source at his firm who confirmed it. So Vanessa's been sleeping with a married man who's staying married to someone else. Appears that way. The pieces fell into place. Blake had been using Vanessa the same way she'd been trying to use me. Probably promised her everything she wanted while never intending to follow through. And now she was about to lose her marriage, her meal ticket, and her affair partner all at once. Tell them I accept the settlement, I said. But I have one additional condition. What's that? Vanessa has to announce on her social media that we're divorcing due to her infidelity. Complete honesty. No spin, no sympathy narrative, just the truth. David raised an eyebrow. That's unusual. So is being told to move out of frame because your face ruins the aesthetic. He made the call. Vanessa's lawyer pushed back, but David was firm. Either Vanessa accepted all the terms or we went to court where even more embarrassing details would become public record. She agreed. 3 days later, Vanessa posted a statement on Instagram. No filters, no carefully crafted image, just plain text on a white background. Carter and I are divorcing. This is entirely my fault. I had an affair and betrayed the man who'd been nothing but good to me for 13 years. I chose my ego over my marriage, and now I'm facing the consequences. I hope others can learn from my mistakes. The post got over 1,000 comments before she disabled them, but screenshots had already spread across Denver's social media circles. Vanessa's carefully curated brand destroyed in a single honest moment. Lauren texted me later that day. That took guts making her post that. But it was the right thing. How's she doing? Not great. Blake cut her off completely when his wife found out. Vanessa's probably going to lose her job too. The agency doesn't want the drama. I felt a twinge of something. Not quite satisfaction. Not quite sympathy. Just acknowledgement that actions have consequences. Tell her I hope she figures things out, I said. Will you? Will I what? Figure things out. Move on. Be happy. I thought about that question while looking around my new apartment. It wasn't as big as the house I'd shared with Vanessa. The furniture was temporary. The walls were bare, and I didn't have any of the expensive art she'd insisted we buy over the years. But it was mine. Completely entirely mine. No performance, no aesthetic, no trying to be someone I wasn't just to fit into her perfect picture. Yeah, I told Lauren. I think I will. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Vanessa at a coffee shop downtown. She looked different. Older somehow. Tired. Her hair wasn't styled the way she used to wear it, and she was wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer outfits. Carter, she said when she saw me. Can we talk? We sat at a table in the corner. Vanessa ordered a black coffee. No elaborate specialty drink with specific milk alternatives and extra shots. Just coffee. I've been wanting to apologize, she started, for everything. The party? The affair? The way I treated you. Okay, that's it. Just okay. I shrugged. What do you want me to say, Vanessa? It's done. We're divorced. You're moving on. I'm moving on. Are you happy? I am, actually. Are you? She laughed bitterly. No, Blake won't return my calls. I lost my job. I'm living with my mother because I can't afford the house on my own and had to sell it. My social media following dropped by 70% after that post you made me write. I didn't make you write anything. That was the condition for a clean settlement. You agreed to it. I know. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I just wish I could go back and do things differently. We all do. But we can't. We just have to live with the choices we made. Do you hate me? I thought about that question. Did I hate her? No. Hatred required caring, and I'd stopped caring about Vanessa the night she told me to move out of the photo. I don't hate you, I said finally. I just don't feel anything for you anymore. You wanted me to be invisible. Now I am. At least to you. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't comfort her. That wasn't my job anymore. I finished my coffee, wished her well, and left. Outside, the Denver sun was shining. Spring was turning into summer, and the mountains in the distance looked clear and close. I had a meeting with a potential client in an hour, a dinner date with someone I'd met through Nathan that evening, and absolutely zero regrets about walking away from that photo. Sometimes the best decision you can make is to step out of frame and keep walking. To refuse to be invisible in your own life. To understand that if someone treats you like you're ruining their aesthetic, you're not the problem. They are. My name is Carter Reynolds, and I learned that my worth isn't determined by how I look in someone else's picture. It's determined by how I feel when I'm standing on my own. And right now, I feel pretty damn good. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been made to feel invisible or inadequate by someone who was supposed to love you, I want you to know something. You deserve better. You deserve someone who wants you in every photo, who never makes you question your worth, who sees you as essential rather than optional. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about people who found the courage to walk away from situations that no longer serve them. Drop a comment below telling me about a time when you chose yourself over someone else's expectations. And hit that like button because you deserve to be seen. Until next time, remember, if someone tells you to move out of frame, maybe it's time to move out of their life entirely.